Welcome to Tech Startup Stories, hosted by Natalie Bims. This is the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the B2B startup world.
Hi, I'm Natalie Binns, and after many years as a marketing leader in the B2B SaaS industry, I set up Hey Gabby to support startups and scale-ups with their go-to-market and growth needs. I work with so many great founders, and that's led me to want to hear their stories and share them with others. And that's why I set up this podcast. So let's get into this week's podcast. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's podcast. This week I'm speaking with Janos Laszlo from PocketTrainer. Now you're a founder who has moved industry, and you've come from the hospitality space to build a tech company. Tell us all about that journey. How did that come about in the first place?
Oh, well, see, little did I know when I started this. I think in retrospect, when I'm looking back, I think if I knew what I'm putting my feet into or what I'm starting at, I would never have, went into and start to build a tech business. As you said, I worked all my life as a restaurateur. I was in basically hospitality from my early childhood. I always wanted to work behind the bar. That was my first dream. When I entered the first bar in my life, I said, "Oh wow, I want to be that guy behind the bar." I just really loved the environment, how they were flirting with people, and then the whole trade was just very attractive to me. And then my parents did a very good job to keep me away from that for a while. But then essentially I ended up in working in a bar, and then in a club, and then in a kitchen. And then essentially I moved in onto the floor, and then I became a waiter and then a manager. So basically I went through the whole ladder. I wore all the hat there is. And essentially my last F&B position was a global training manager position for an international company or international restaurant brand. And my job was to open restaurants, train employees, and then basically, make sure that the company turned the highest return on investment on human resources. That was my job. And along this journey, I realized that, I think that there was this time of shifts, of moving really digital. People are spending more and more time on the phone. People start to consume information via their phone rather than reading books. And, all the old school resources, what we used to have, or not, didn't even have, to be honest. I mean, back then, if you wanted to learn anything about the business, you had to go and ask the head chef or the general manager, and they just told you, like, shh, come back later, we are busy. But one of my first projects as a global training manager was to standardize operational aspects of the business, create a training manual for each department, which I did, and it was beautiful. It looked like a National Geographic magazine. The only problem with that was that nobody ever read it. So I just spoke about this yesterday with another client. I had really two choices here. Be proud and be reluctant and start to say what people very often say in this business: these people don't want to learn, these millennials, these Gen Zs, they just don't want to learn. It's not true. I started to ask questions. Why you guys are not studying from these beautiful training materials that we created? And they told me, Janos, it's just not practical. I can't put it in my pocket. I put it in a locker. I leave it at home. I can't study on the go from a book. Our generation is learning through the phone. So I gave it quick thoughts, and I thought, what, they're absolutely right. I think we need to move digital. And this was 2020, 2019, where most of the industries were already digitalizing, but hospitality is always less. Picking up on the latest trends. We are one industry that like to do the things the way we always used to do. We don't like to change things. We like pen and paper. We like, this is hospitality. We're working with people. You don't need to change a lot, but actually you do. And basically, I designed the platform as an employee. Out of a hobby, I just started to play around with on a Mickey Mouse project. I just fired one guy on my own pocket, and then basically, I started to develop a platform. But it had massive results. Our average check the first year increased by 12%, generating incredible extra revenue that we've never seen before. Our staff turnover rate started to go down. People started to come and shake my hands, and I was getting compliments for something I never expected to. I was always wanted to be complimented for how good of a trainer I am, but I was getting compliments on, how cool we are, how forward thinking we are as a company for developing such a thing. And I started to think, what, this is a good idea. Maybe I could do this for the whole industry, not just for my company as an employee. And it took me 3 years to commit myself to it and, to resign. But even then I didn't really plan to launch it straight away. But on the day of my resignation, somebody heard about it, somebody who knew what we'd achieved, and they said, listen, I give you all the money you need, but you start tomorrow. So I literally started on my first day of unemployment. I started to work on PocketTrainer, and I never looked back. So this is a short story of it. But again, little did I know. I just coming from the training background and having the industry knowledge. I thought that restaurant training, I got this. I just need to develop a platform. But I am non-technical. I was a solo founder. So against all odds, it didn't mean anything to me back then, because I'm a guy who was going and getting things done. I didn't even think for a second that this is gonna be any challenge whatsoever. But I went through some tough times, and I'm sure you're gonna ask about this.
Absolutely, I will. But I mean, what an incredible story. And I think it speaks to a number of things that obviously your experience in the industry is the most powerful thing that has kind of driven you to this point, and really understanding your customer because that was your world and that's what you've lived and breathed for so many years. So really understanding what the problem was rather than tackling it from the other way, which a number of our other guests have tackled it from, which is, seeing a problem in a wider industry and then, finding product market fit. You had your product market fit and then you had to build the tech to effectively fix that problem, which is
Good.
huge.
100%. And it helped a lot, to be honest with you. So, this is my first sentence in every demo I do to a client. I always tell them that, hey guys, just for you to know, we are not a typical tech company, a bunch of developers coming up with an idea. Let's try to sell it. I never wanted to make a business out of it, to be honest with you. It was never my intention to make a business. But it just made so much sense. I saw it from the inside out, how it works and how it's helping people. It was one thing that we increased the revenue of the company, but we really help people to learn. I think this industry, really missing the tools, and especially the new age workforce tools. People are coming into businesses and they don't have the tools to succeed. That's why we have one of the highest staff turnover across all industry. That's why, we have the most unskilled workforce coming into businesses, because this is not a destination. To work in a restaurant is not a destination anymore. Back then, you wanted to be a waiter for 30, 40 years. There was no more thing to do because you made good money. Nowadays, people don't want to be a waiter or a chef. Right? They are ending up in restaurants because there is nothing else available, or they just don't know what to do with their life, or, let's just crack on with a few years of, no responsibility. Let's just make some easy money. But they don't have the tools, they don't have the skills. So, the industry really needs such a platforms. And back then when I looked around at the market, I found only generic platforms, generic learning management systems. I found companies that are providing training content, FMB training content, but again, they were generic. So I never seen the value in it. I thought, why would I train my employees on somebody else's standards? I want to train my employees on my own standards, but do I have the time? Do I have the resources? Do I have the skills? I did not. I was a good operator. I was not a good trainer. I had the experience, but I, never had really anything to it. And I thought to myself, we have to somehow speed this thing up. We have to somehow make this self-paced. We have to make this digital. We have to make this user-friendly. We have to make this, consumable so people can engage with it. And until today, I mean, this is the biggest challenge, how to make this engaging and how to make this available for people. But to answer it short, we basically fund product marketing from day one. We started to sell the platform for money before our MVP came out. People were signing up, and then basically what I raised money from an angel, it was spent in no time. I didn't know how much to raise. I didn't raise enough. I made a massive mistake there, and the money was spent in no time. So I was under pressure after 6 or 7 months into the new business of making money. So I was extremely lucky that I had the connections. I had the product that I actually worked on for a couple of years before as an employee. So I didn't start from completely, nothing. But I was under the pressure, first year. And I think this is where, most, tech founders are really.
Absolutely. And so tell us about those early days. You've sort of mentioned already that, you burned through the cash fairly quickly because, you didn't know how much you were going to need and what you'd be spending it on. Talk to us about those early days. What were you spending your money on?
Well, it was tech, obviously. It was all tech. I was a one-man show for 2 years, apart from tech. So at the beginning, I outsourced tech. So, problem number one, you want to develop a product. Who's going to develop it? You get a co-founder on board, ideally a tech co-founder, a technical guy. I could not. I wanted to get somebody, the deal couldn't it just didn't happen. We didn't agree on many things. The guy wasn't too committed. So I obviously started to explore my options. I started to interview companies, and then essentially a company came through from a really good friend I trusted. And I really liked what they presented. So I said, you know what, why not outsource it? I mean, it totally made sense in the beginning. I also paid for an accelerator company. So I developed an app as an employee. I paid an accelerator company to develop me a prototype just to see how they would do it. And then I didn't go with them, but I went with a third company. But by then I had 2 app developed. And based on those ideas, I knew exactly what I want. So I thought, you know what, why not give it to these guys? And actually worked with them for 3.5 years after that. So they've been looking after all the development. They gave me 4 guys. So basically it was all spent on tech, and I was doing sales, marketing, everything. Your invoicing, your pitches, your onboarding. I onboarded my first 100 restaurants. I was the data entry guy typing everything in. So yeah, the money was gone. So basically the only person was me who could get things done, and I didn't have money to pay people. So that was actually a big mistake that I didn't consider in the beginning, that I thought I can do this, but very quickly I realized that I just worked. I don't want to lie to you, but I think I worked close to 2 years without day off, and I worked 14 hours a day. So this included a couple of depression and all the kind of stuff that people are talking about. So yeah, the beginning was tough. I literally no money to spend on employees. It was all tech and me.
Yeah, and that's really tough. And you did that for sort of 2 years. Tell me a little bit more about the mental health challenges that you had.
Well, it's hard to explain the things. When you wake up with a feeling of pressure every day. The thing is, I think many people like myself, we were raised to be an employee. I'm not ashamed to do this. I was raised to be an employee. My parents always told me, you have to be careful, have a job, have a stable job, save money. I was in the age already, when I launched this business, I was 40 or 39 or 40, right? So I just bought my first property, but it was all under finance. Previously I had a really nice salary, I could easily pay the things, but we start to think, oh shit, I have things to pay for. I had a serious relationship. My parents needed help. So at the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, I have to provide. But as a founder, I kept myself on a way to a salary for 2.5, 3 years. So I didn't have the income. I had to work a lot. I always felt like I'm not achieving enough. So I remember a couple of days when I woke up, right after waking up, going out in the living room, sitting down on the sofa, I just bursting into tears, like, I cannot get this done. I just feel like it's just too much to do. And on top of it, the person who invested me, it's a person close to my heart. So I could not imagine the situation where I stand in front of my investor and say, hey, listen, I lost your money. I have to close down. I have to go back to work because I have to be responsible. So, all these kind of feelings I think are there for every founder. And, I mean, thankfully I managed to get out of it. I just powered it through, and then, I always exercised. So I think one big advice is that, it's very important not to let your physical state go just because you work a lot. You have to find those hours of go on a treadmill, go for a run, go to play football, go to play whatever frisbee in the beach, just to have your mind cleared out a bit. But yeah, I think the first couple of years was tough. I mean, I'm giving this advice to do sport, but I didn't do sport in the first 2 years. I think that was one of the big game changers. So I had to get back to to my routines of doing some sport, because it was tough. I had several months of I'm not saying deep depression, but I had a couple of really bad days when I thought I just cannot get this done. And I had these sometimes weeks I couldn't work. 1 week, 2 weeks, I just could not work.
Yeah.
I just could not work. It was all mentally blocking me. But yeah, the good news is when you have some success coming in, that can be a really strong motivator. When you're lending businesses, when you're achieving something visible, when the product gets better. So you can find small wins every day. And I think this is very important to have small goals. Don't just think about, I want to be a millionaire, I want to exit this company, but have small wins, build a new feature, get it out to the client, get a good compliment, get in front of more people. So small wins can really help to get through the hard times.
Absolutely. And to be honest, it's huge to go from being a paid employee with that security, and I hear this time and time again, to suddenly building your own business. And the pressure that you get as that founder is immense. And, getting through it, you're absolutely right in what was your catalyst was getting out and clearing your head and having exercise. And some people find signing up for a marathon, or we've had previous guests that have done that. And whatever it takes to get clear your head, I think is so
100%.
important.
And the problem is, people can talk about this, but you don't really know until you are in. It's very much like raising a child. I have a toddler now at home. I never understood when people talking about the joy and everything.
Right.
I never understood. It's the same with startup. When you're an employee, you close your laptop down or you go home from work, you're done. I mean, I was in a big position. My phone was constantly ringing, and I was under pressure, and I didn't enjoy the end of my career because of unnecessary pressure and all this kind of stuff. But it was nothing compared to as being a founder, because there is nowhere to hide. The only person you have to answer is this one. And the only battle you fight is this one. It's not necessarily the clients and everybody else. You have to be going with a clear conscience to bed that I've done enough, I did my best, and that is very hard. Because when you're an employee, you can, today I took it a bit easy, is whatever. I hope they're not gonna notice, or you have a chance to, sometimes take it easy. But when you look into your own self, you have to be happy with yourself. It's very important to be happy with yourself with what you're doing. And you are the biggest critics. I mean, I am for myself. I don't know how about others, but I am judging myself very, very hardly on how I do and what I do, and have I done enough. And I mean, even until today, I think this is the main challenge. I rarely happy with what I achieve, but I think this is a good trait to have, because otherwise, what you're gonna achieve if you put the bar low that you can achieve, you're never gonna grow. You always have to put the bar higher. So even if you go slightly below, you're still achieving really good. So yeah.
But still focusing on those small wins, which I think is the best bit of advice that you could give anyone. So your life situation's obviously moved on as well. You've now got a child. You've built the business. So after those sort of first early years, what was the, obviously you had some wins with customers. What really shifted you to the next gear? And what happened in terms of hiring? Like, who did you go after first?
Very good question. So it took me very long. It took me almost 3 years by the time I started to hire employees. So what I did, and what I would highly advise to everybody, is to hire virtual assistants for the small jobs. So, one of the best advice I got, that you have to remove yourself from the little things, from the $10 per hour jobs. From a 5 to 10 or even $100. You should be doing the top level stuff, what you are really good at. So usually founders are really good at, I don't know others, but you're really good at talking about, the industry, or talking about something, or talking about the product, or sell the product. You have to find what you are the best at. You can be the best at everything. I'm not good at marketing. I don't like to do it, but I'm good at sales, to sell. So I found a guy who could put me in front of people. So, or I found a guy who would do the onboarding. So onboarding is a horrible and manual job. We have to update everything for the client, put through everything the platform. So I did my first 100 onboarding. And onboarding would take anywhere between 3 to 4 days. Me entering data 14 hours a day. You can find a guy anywhere for that. So I started to hire people for the small jobs. And essentially in the beginning, I was outsourcing everything, marketing, finance, everything. But slowly, I started to hire people. And for us, the biggest change was actually last year, where I realized that we cannot be the best ever. I don't think we ever can be the best. You can be temporarily be the best platform or software out there, because somebody has always coming on, with some new ideas, and tech is evolving and all that. So I thought we're going to innovate in areas where our competitors are failing, which is customer success and onboarding, and we're gonna do things better, faster. We're gonna provide support. So last year I cut back our development budget. I said I don't want to develop more new functions, because people don't know how to use it anyways. I'm going to invest into customer care, customer success. So you email us, you got sorted on the same day. You sign up for our services, you onboard it in 2 days, maximum a week. Our competitors are doing 3 to 6 months. We onboard you in 2 days. You need something, we're gonna create it for you. So first of all, I established an internal training department, right? So we had a training platform. I said, you know what, we not only give you the platform, but we also look into what you do. We can help you to set up the right thing. So do you have training materials? Are they looking good enough? Do you want us to work on them to make them look better, make them look like you? You don't have training materials, no problem, let me create you training materials. So we started to create custom training content, give them generic content as well, which I was always against, but I realized that most restaurants have absolutely no training materials whatsoever. So basically, we started to create training content. We're giving a training manager with a platform. So 95% of our clients have no training manager in the company. They pay for the training platform, but they don't have a training manager. So they have a really good system, but they don't know how to use it or what are the full potential. So now we're giving a training manager with that. She comes on board, take a look at what you do, suggest what you should do, create you the training content. So basically, we give you a full 360. We're even doing now outsourced training management. So basically, we moved away from a platform service to a full 360 training services. And then basically, we're trying to give the clients all the tools. So there's no more, excuse, we don't know how to use it, or we don't have time, or all that kind of stuff. So that was a very, very big game changer for us. It also turns out that, a lot of companies have no training content, so we are there to help them with that. So I invested heavily in customer success training, obviously tech. I brought the CTO on board. We right now, actually, we're just redesigning the platform as we speak. So it's, for me, a lot of companies focus on functionalities and more functions. My argument is the same every single week with my developers. I don't want more functionalities. I want to make things easier. Less button, less click. You need to understand who you work with. People in restaurant business don't know how to switch on the computer. This is the reality. They work in a restaurant because they don't want to sit in front of the computer. So, and we're sending the tech platform to them. So, you will laugh. Actually, for 2 years we had only mobile version. We don't even have desktop versions. I said I'm not going to develop a desktop version because the people I work with, they are on the floor serving clients, talking to people. They have to do everything from their phone. So again, most of our competitors are focusing on a desktop. Who has the opportunity to go to the office and work on their laptop? Nobody. So people don't understand who they're working with. So, small things, but our focus, we don't focus a lot on sales. You would be surprised. I don't have a sales team after 4 years. We got into 20 countries without sales.
Wow.
Is word of mouth, because the people are selling my product is my clients. They when they go to a new company, they say, hey guys, let's not waste time, let's go for these guys. They know what they do. We're gonna save time, we're gonna save money, we stop printing paper, employees will love it. So we really focus on our clients, and then they are selling our product.
Got it. So you're based in Dubai, and I'm guessing that you started with UAE and then kind of grew from there. So tell me a bit more about that.
100%. So I left here 10 years before I started the business. Worked for two of the most well-known brands, which helped me a lot, obviously. People knew me. I knew the restaurant scene. I knew people. So obviously what you do as a founder, you open up your phone and you hit everybody who you can, live or not alive. You just hit them up and, ask them, hey, listen, what you do, here is something I could do for you. What I also did, and it turned out really good. It was a really good campaign. Before I launched, I started to message everybody on LinkedIn I knew. So I built up my LinkedIn connections. I have, I don't know, 18, 20,000 connections probably today. But I built this all in the beginning while I was building the MVP. I was just adding people. And then I reached out to them with a survey asking that, hey, listen, if you could design if you could design the training platform, what would it include? What would be interested in? And I gave them the options. So those options actually were my MVP. I already knew that I'm going to build those functions, but I let them choose. And then I kind of analyzed what people want to see, what people want to do. And when I launched the app, I said, listen, I designed the app you need. Would you like to see that? So I acquired quite a bit of business in the beginning with that. And yeah, I basically, the good news is that people knew what I was doing at the restaurant where I worked. So people signed up very, very quickly. And then literally we were in 4 or 5 countries, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, all around Europe, a couple of European outlets. But basically it was, me, I literally went to the town and I started to walk into the businesses. No shame. I didn't care. I just started to walk into the restaurants. Can I see the GM? Old school. And yeah.
I think that makes all the difference though, because everybody's digital, everybody's online, and that market research is so important. So I'm really glad to hear your story of reaching out to all those people and asking them, what they wanted in that first version of the platform. But going in and having that face to face, that's even more powerful because you get so much more information from somebody sat across you versus, you know,
Yeah,
asking a few
that
questions
is the main
online.
power of shaking somebody's hand. Like all the demos that we do here in Dubai, I go in person unless they refuse and they want to do it online. They always ask me, "Would you like to do it in person or online?" Always in person. Go, shake their hands, pat their back, have a coffee, have a laugh. Don't try to sell too much, but it's very important to have this human element. I mean, the physical touch, just to shaking somebody's hand is priceless. Plus, they can really attach a person to the product. If they have a problem with a product, they respond differently because they match. You're not a guy, through Teams or through Zoom or whatever. We now meet, but if I have a problem, maybe I would be a bit more, cracking on you. But if I met you, I would definitely, be more human, be more, I don't know how to put it, more civilized, and it's easier to deal with people once you met them, and you really get to know them. When you meet people in live, they open up better. You learn more. As an entrepreneur, you should always ask more questions and listen more than talk, which is sometimes difficult, but is especially difficult through a online call. If you go in live, you have the chance to learn something. You have the chance to understand the world people are in, because every restaurant is different, every business is different, people have different problems, people have different views. So you really understand these once you meet people in live.
So I love the face to face, but how do you scale that for 20 countries?
Not live, unfortunately. But I try to actually visit my clients. So when I travel, I don't only see new prospects. I actually go to see clients, and we try to give a lot. But we keep in touch. These 20 countries is all through my clients. So the hospitality world is very unstable. People are coming and living and taking on new jobs, and again, when they go, they say, "Hey, we work with these guys." And this is how I entered so many market. Spanish market is one of the best example. Our second biggest market is Spain. I never even message people in Spain, but we landed some businesses because people from Dubai relocated there, opened up some businesses in Marbella, in Barcelona, in Madrid, here and there, and then they, basically, the good news is when you have a platform that people like. I never have to struggle on demos. People never say on the demo that, no, this is not interesting, or we don't want that. People never say that. People always like the platform. It's just always the matter of closing it. Sales cycle of in B2B is rather long, but people recommend the platform. So if you build a good product, and that's why I think it's very important to focus on the products and your customer service over sales and marketing, because then people will take it with them to the next place and to the next place and to the next place, and then share the love that you feel about the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Your customers are the best salespeople for your business, 100%. So you invested heavily in customer success, providing that, going over and above on the services, and reducing your budget for your development. Have you seen the fruits of that change and those labors? What's been the outcome so far?
Not necessarily just yet. I think, as a part of customer success, actually, we also, in customer success, yes, because, we keep landing new businesses, and, these are all coming through recommendations. But we also invested heavily into training, so supporting teams with creating training material. So I think this is yet to convert, because we didn't start this too long ago. We started this like 9 months ago, but we started to land paid projects. So in the beginning, when you build something, especially when you build up a database or when you build up training content library, it doesn't worth anything until you have 20 courses or 50 courses. When you have 100, 200, 500, this is where you can go in front of people and say, look, this is what we have. It's a huge selection. You have to pay a bit of money, but then you can choose from 500 courses. So when you have 20 courses, you cannot really do that. So we are investing this year into content creation a lot, that it doesn't necessarily convert yet, but it will. You can be sure it will. It just takes a bit of time, but this is all calculated in It's all calculated in.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what are your sort of longer term plans for the business? What sort of journey do you hope to go through over the next sort of 3 to 5 years?
It's a good question. Right now, we have some interest into growing some new arms in the business. So, we were always proud to say that we didn't want to deliver for everybody. We have a niche market, a niche product. We selling training solutions for F&B businesses. We are trying to make training available and simple. This is our goal. Um, but I'm getting a lot of requests to expand to different markets. Obviously, especially with investors. So we are we are one of those companies that's really happy invest. Even though we are profitable from day one, investors don't really like solo founders, especially if they are non-technical. But now we started to attract some investors, but they always want to see more rapid growth. So we are considering into with some complementary services. We be considering to develop an agile platform. Again, because most restaurants have an HR platform, want to have an LMS platform, but they don't always want to pay for that. But if they do, they want them to integrate, and these integrations are usually never really, a very smooth experience, take too long. And essentially you have two different platforms, so you still need to have maintain, work on two different interfaces. So we started to play with the idea of developing an HR platform, expand our services into that space, and we also want to open up to individuals, so B2C. We create our training content. We have basically the content we create is all social media style. So we went with this totally Gen Z, millennial, even Zoomer mindset of creating training content. And we don't want to limit ourselves to selling this training content to our B2B clients. So we're getting a lot of requests on our website for courses to be able to sign up as an individual. Guys from McDonald's in Germany emailing us, texting us, "Hey, I want to learn about the business. Can I learn about it in your platform?" No, you cannot. So I feel this wrong. I really want to continue the direction of providing tools for people to succeed, not even necessarily to generate revenue. So my idea is, yes, courses online for individuals, but we want to give back a lot of stuff as well for the industry. So, it's free marketing. At the end of the day, when you help people, when they see the quality of your work, which I'm really proud to say that we have some really good quality work, if not the best, what I've seen so far out there on the market, you have to advertise it. And the best advertising is just give it in people's hand. People always ask me, "Are you not afraid that people are going to steal your training materials?" And no, I said, take it, use it, advertise it, show it to others, own it. Because at the end of the day, people can see it's still created by us. So when they want the big boy stuff, when they want to create a lot or more custom, to theirs, they're gonna come to us. So I think you shouldn't be afraid of giving to people, because if the quality is right, people eventually will come back to you.
Absolutely. So, you said at the beginning of this podcast that if you knew what you knew today, you probably wouldn't have started the business. But I'm curious, really, with this entire journey, which you've come out a difficult period and you've seen some great successes and things are really on track, and you're seeing some great progress now. What advice would you give your younger self if you were to sort of say to Janos 10 years ago, you're going to build this tech platform? What advice would you give to yourself?
Yeah. Um, if you can afford, try to get quality people on board. The earlier, the better. Not too early. I wouldn't advise actually to start with so many people on board in the beginning, because I think product market fit is is the right example to bring it up. You don't necessarily going to find product market fit very quick. I know companies that they haven't found it for 4 or 5 years. They're still figuring it out. They're still changing the concept, the platform, redesigning and everything. You need to be able to generate money and sell it to clients. So wait until they figure out what you want to do. But once you know what you want to do, what can be sold in the market, find people. So one exercise that I do regularly is that I advertise that I'm looking for people, LinkedIn, whatever, right? I don't necessarily look for people, but I like to see who is available on the market, because there is one good advice I got back then from my hospitality years, is that you hire when you find talent, you don't hire when you need somebody. You should hire when you find the right talent. When you find somebody who is valuable and can be really essential to your business, you take a loan, you find the money, but you hire this person. And this happened to me. This all my team members are like this. It's I had to interview and waste time on meeting people and whatever, which is not a waste to be honest, because this is how you find your people. But I have a couple of incredible superstar in my team. You would, I mean, if you hear, the story, some of them, how I hired, you would laugh. But, these guys are committed, don't need to be managed. They telling me how to do things, they teaching me things, and they want to work here. I didn't have to convince them with salary or equity or whatever that people are just giving out so freely and easily in the beginning. These people were dreaming to work in this company, but you have to take the time to find these people. You have to go through so many interviews to find these people, and most of them, my last find, who is probably the best, my head of learning, I could not afford it, but she told me, listen, don't worry, as the business grows, you will give me more money, or as you feel, I just want to work here. So I couldn't say no to it, and until today, she is the top performing employee of the company, but I had to, go through constant hiring to find her. So you always need to be out and look for talent, because you will be surprised how often, roads are crossing each other and actually people are dreaming about to do something with you. You just don't know. If you don't look for it, if you don't look for them, you never will know. Most people, even in our industry, they are panic hiring, right? Oh, I lost a developer, I need a developer. And then you interview 5 people, 10 people, you hire one. You don't know who you hire. I mean, even me, I made some bad hires, you don't know who you hire, but time to time, you will find somebody who you will know that, okay, oh my God, this guy, or this girl, thanks God, to have this person in front of me. Like, how can I be so lucky? But it takes time to find these people. So don't panic hire. Always hire. See people, meet people, see what they can give you. See if you can collaborate. You can give them something, they can give you something. They're happy to promote you, you promote them. Partnerships. So definitely constantly hire. Second, don't let your physics go. Make sure that you keep your body fresh, because the mind cannot be functioning without a fit body. And if you have a chance, don't start solo. I think I made a big mistake there. I a bit overestimated myself and my skills and my knowledge. Today, if you ask me, what do I know about this business? I would tell you I know nothing. I realize I know absolutely. I have good experience within this business and whatever, but now I know that the product will never be done. Now I know that everybody thinks it differently. How you should be focused or working, and innovation just happening so fast. Look at AI. Look at how the things going around in the industry. You will never reach a stage of perfectness. So, further advice would be execution. Execute fast. You fail fast, it's good. You can move on. But I see so many people with so many good ideas, and we should do this and we should do that. Forget it. Put one thing down you want to achieve today. Put one big plan what you want to achieve this week, and get it done. If you think about something, you go on silent mode, and you get it done. You find the right people to do it, or just launch whatever you want to launch. But I think execution is key. You will get many things wrong, but you learn from those. So always hire, keep yourself fit, and execute fast.
Love it. Janos, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for being on the podcast.
My pleasure.
That's it for this episode of Tech Startup Stories. Have a story you'd like us to share, or a topic you'd want to cover? Reach out and we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care.